going on, everyone? Welcome back to the H&K video game experience. This is Hollywood Cole, and I'm here with Clearfire again. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Just hanging out at the house.
Cool. Well, seems like we got a lot more followers, or at least listeners, on for the podcast than I expected. So that's good news, man. That's great. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it, and hopefully we can keep this thing going here. Just wanted to tell you guys to check us out on what am I trying to say here? Twitter. Yeah, that's how much I Twitter. I don't even know what it's called. I got one follower on Twitter, and it's Zach. I had two followers. It was a Russian. One was a Russian lady of the night. That
oh gosh.
Yeah, she stopped following me. She wasn't really into games, I guess. But
oh my gosh.
you know. But yeah, so guys, check us out. I just want to throw it out there. We don't ever really talk about it, but Hollywood Cole, HOLLIWOODKOLE, Hollywood Cole on Twitter. A little spodiody dopalicious for you. If you don't know, then you missed out on a little bit of mid '90s, late '90s, early 2000s with the Outcast there. Check it out. That's where I got the name. But yeah, follow us and let us know. You can get us on Facebook. Clearfire's got us. Actually got links to us on Facebook. H&K Video Game Experience. That's the and is with an ampersand. So H&K Video Game Experience, and hit us up on there and let us know what you want us to talk about. If you got anything else that you want us to, any games that's coming out or old school games that maybe we've overlooked, or just something you want to hear somebody talk about in some research, we'll do it. But
and I got some other links as well to you for. I've got mine as well. Clearfire. It's KLEERFYRE. You can search that on Twitch and Twitter. Sorry about saying the Twitch there, but yeah, I do streaming for game streaming for our clan, and just I've been doing some recently just by myself because I'm actually a little behind in playing Destiny, but of course that's beyond what we're going to talk about tonight. But you can if you want to watch me game, you can watch me game there, and then of course you can follow me on Twitter, and it's KLEERFYRE, and then of course you can check us out like I said on Facebook. And we actually have a H&K Gaming Twitter as well.
Yep.
And you can hit us there too. We haven't used it much, but I'm going to start using it a little more. Mainly what's happening on that is our links to our podcast are there. So anytime the podcast comes through, if you're following that, you'll see it pop up on your Twitter feed real quick. So
yeah, and we use Podbean for our hosting service. There's also an app, Podbean app. You can just download it and probably subscribe and get them automatically as soon as we drop one there. But otherwise, they just go there and on iTunes automatically. I'm trying to get them on Google Play, and I just got to research that a little bit more. But because I use Google Play, and I can't find it on there, of course, because it's not on there. But it's just the difference for Androids. But yeah, usually I tweet about, I think I just dropped a new one about Switch, having Doom come to the Switch. Which is going to be kind of cool. I'm sure they'll add a little Nintendo twist to it or whatever, maybe a new level or whatever the case. And it's just kind of a cool fact, and a little bit about the retro, which we'll talk about. We're going to talk about on this show in a minute. But they found a hidden code flog FOLG in the Switch, and they figured out what it was. It's golf spelled backwards, and so they have the code embedded in the Switch. Nobody's figured out how to access it yet, but it's the golf game. Remember the old school NES
yeah, I
golf?
saw that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that's great. You can use the little Joy-Cons and play two players, old school golf. That is an addicting game. And it's just old school, man. They didn't tell you how far your club hits or anything. It's just trial and error, and you just get so good at it. But I love that game.
I missed that game. That was a fun game.
Yeah, me and Dad played it all the time, and it's a lot of fun. So... well, this episode we're going to try to pick up where we left off with some of the retro game systems and just kind of chop up a little bit of retro game, just not only systems but just some games and kind of whatever comes to mind. But we stopped at the 5th gen, I believe. That would be the Sega Saturn, PlayStation, and GameCube. But you had mentioned something right before we got off about an old school modem or an old school accessory for the Super Nintendo and Sega 16-bit era. In fact, the very first modem online play for consoles to ever exist was called the X-Band, and I wanted to stop what we were doing and continue on, but you said, no, let's hold off, and we'll talk about it this episode. And I've been really excited about this episode all week. I mean, I really have, because I forgot all about the X-Band, and that's what it's called, the X-Band.
Oh gosh, I did not forget about the X-Band. Trust me, I've got some good stories on that I remember from our X-Band editions there.
Yeah, it's great.
We had some wild things happen on that, so...
It was just so unique. So let's just talk about what it is. It was made by, I think it was made by Catapult, a little company out of California. And Catapult Entertainment, a little company out of California, software-based company out of California. And released in America in 1994 and 95. So the Sega got it first. I believe it was in April of 94, and then maybe I got that backwards. So I know Sega got it first, but April 94. Anyway, 95, less than a year later, the Super Nintendo got it. And yeah, November 94. Okay, November 94 is for the Genesis, and then June 95 is for the Super Nintendo. So all it was a little accessory. You just pop in the top of your, just like the old Game Genies, you pop it in the top of your Super Nintendo or Sega, put the game on top of it, and there was a phone line that went to it. And so you just turn the game on, and the thing that launches was the X-Band. This little interface that it had is very primitive, but it was just awesome. I mean, it even looked, the graphics and stuff are just so. I mean, it's running on like a 240 or 2,400 bits per second type of speed, which was enough for 16-bit back then, whatever it needed to do. And they actually had to hack the code of the games. There was only one game that came out with it that was X-Band compatible without them having to actually hack, just basically break into the game, figure out the two-player mechanics, and then it basically had some script that it would kind of manipulate that to where you could play it online. And that was Weapon Lord, which I never played that, but Weapon Lord actually had X-Band advertised on the box. But that was the only one. So it's just basically a two-player game over the internet that you could play. And a list. I didn't play the Sega one. All I played was the SNES. But the SNES had Doom, King Griffey Jr., Killer Instinct, Madden 95 and 96, Mortal Kombat 2 and 3, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, NHL 95 and 6, Super Mario Kart, Weapon Lord, and Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which it just had a secret maze game. I never played that. The only ones that we ever played were, I played Killer Instinct and Mario Kart. I was good at Mario Kart on there. Killer Instinct I hardly ever won. And Mortal Kombat. Killer
Instinct was crazy. That was crazy on there.
That was like the Major League Gaming game of the X-Band. That was these guys are hardcore on there, and they were difficult. But Mortal Kombat 2 slowed down a lot. It had a lot of processing, a lot of moving pieces in the background, kind of slowed it down a lot. But so it's just weird how things kind of evolve. And back then, you had your clans just like you do now. And just somebody made a clan and says, "Hey, I'm the leader of the clan. You want to join it?" Like, sure, whatever. But there was one clan in particular, and I'll never forget it. They were You remember what they were called?
Nah, I don't remember that. I don't remember the clans too well on there.
Yeah. So there was one. If you saw a guy pop up because when you start play, you would you'd hit dialing in, and you just have to dial a number, and it would dial in, and it would connect just like a normal modem, and then you would see the guy you're going to play, and they would have a little pre-made taunt that they had, and you actually pushed up 3 times, then you could chat. With just typing real slow, moving the little cursor, and but that was a phone call. This was the part that kind of hurt them. That was a phone call to California or wherever you called, long distance. There wasn't free nationwide back then. It was
so that's where my stories kick in. From that point is from there. As I was waiting for this part to come in, this is really funny for me because I'm
sorry. Let's not interrupt you. I just want to say before we get off track. I just wanted to say, since we told the clan, U**D was the clan. Ultimate Division.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
And if you saw an Ultimate Division, you're going to lose. And that was it. I mean, they had the best guys ever. I mean, it didn't matter. But it was unreal that they actually recruited the best guys. Like the best guy ever decided to start a clan, and that's how he got. You had to beat a guy in U-Star D, which I never could anyway. But anyway, sorry, I just wanted to cover the clan while we were on.
No, that's cool.
I'm excited to hear the story, man. Let's go with it.
But this is where the stories for us kick in, for me and Hollywood. This is where it gets really wild and crazy. So, like you said, X-Band was a connection through your phone line and a phone call. So if you were going to play somebody, you actually made a phone call to them, and that's how it worked. It was like, okay, I'm going to call California, Washington, D.C., whatever, wherever the location that person was at. So you had that, and what they had is they had either you pay a monthly fee of $4.95, which would allow you 50 times worth of connected to the month, or you had a $9.95 fee that gave you a unlimited per month. So you had that, and players were also assessed another fee on top of that, $3.95 per hour for contacting anybody outside their local calling area. For us, where we grew up at, our local calling area was our town, and that was it. There was really nobody that had X-Band in our town other than me, Hollywood, and one or two other people. So this is where it gets really funny and really interesting. So me and Hollywood, we've been playing X-Band for a while. We've been enjoying it, loving it. You know, our parents got a little mad at us because we tied up the phone lines, because that's what happened. It tied up your phone lines to where you couldn't make calls in and out as well.
Yep.
So you tied up phone lines. So me and Hollywood just started playing at night. That's the reason why we became night gamers and started playing all the time at night. Well, the first month phone bill came in, and I remember my mom and Hollywood's mom talking to each other about this because we got in major trouble for this. And phone bills were, I remember my mom's phone bill said her phone bill was around $250 for that time. And back then, phone bills were like $30.
Yeah, mine was $350.
Exactly, and Hollywood's was like almost $400. I remember.
In
so
1992 money.
Crazy.
Whatever.
Yes. So it was crazy. So we got in so much trouble for this, but it was just that's just the one thing. That's one of the things I remember back from X-Band days is because of how much it really truly cost to play that. It was a super expensive way to play online gaming, but man, it was so
awesome.
much fun. It was so much fun.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We did that, you know. I think we ended up getting away with about 2 or 3 months worth of doing that before we really got in trouble, and the parents said, okay, either you can't play it anymore or all of your allowance money is going straight to this. Oh, yeah. Well, I know that I got away with it for a little bit longer than that, but I didn't play more than about 4 or 5 months on it. And I don't remember about how long Hollywood played. Yeah. I think he played a little bit longer, but
yeah, but I had to pay. So I had to pay that half of the bill or whatever. I had to pay at least half of it. And you remember how I paid it? You didn't have a job or anything. I had to sell the 3DO, man. I had to sell the 3DO.
That's right.
And all the games to Drew.
Right.
And Drew bought it for like $150. Because every time I had the 3DO, I'd just take it to his house anyway and play. So, hey, just buy it, dude. We'll just keep it at your... It's both of ours. We'll just keep it at your house. You know, just go over there and play it. But so if I was playing it anyway, it was over there. But that's how I had to do it. And I had to give that to Mom. And I think I was just like, yeah, I think I'm done with it. I don't remember. I think I did play it a little bit longer, but there was just a lot more restrictions. Because you could limit it to how much you can connect, like you said. But how much you can connect. But, you know, it just never... I don't remember the whole logistics of it. I do know this though. It's just kind of a cool thing. Like I was talking about U-Star D. I can't remember. I was trying to think of the one that I was in. I was one like called Anarchist or something, and I was the co-leader. I just asked the guy, "Can I be the co-leader?" He's like, "Yeah, whatever, man." You know, it's like cool because there was nothing really to do. Just to say, "I'm the co-leader."
Exactly.
But there was another group that was really good too, and I can't remember their name, but they were really good, and I had a niche. I wasn't as good at games as they were, but I had a niche to get in these clans. Do you remember what it was? You probably don't remember this because I don't ever think about this, but
no, I don't remember that at all.
All right, so this takes a little bit of explaining. So the way that email works, you have to contact the server, so and do the whole thing. Then you get 10. So if I sent you 50 emails, you would only get 10 at a time. So
that's right, I remember that.
So you would get 10 emails, and you go through them and say, okay, cool. You get 10 unread messages or whatever that would say. It's called Xmail. And so you go read it, And it's kind of a pain. You got to click, okay, I open it up, and then I want to delete it. And just click, move it over. Okay, delete. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. Okay, that one was gone. You got to do that for all 10. Then you have to connect again. So that 50 you were talking about, that 50 connects, each time you connect to email, it's making you charge one of those 50 connects. So you connect again. Oh, you have 10 more emails. Okay, and you have to do all that. You have to keep doing that. So, what we would do, and I found this by mistake. Mitch Miles said he sent me a Beavis and Butthead screensaver on X-Band because we had both had email. Like, oh, dude, we got email. This is awesome. Sent me a Beavis and Butthead screensaver on there. Well, it didn't translate to that language, so it just left me it was like 30 emails of garble. It was just code or something. So I was like, dude, what did you send me, man? This is like blowing my email box. It took me like 30 minutes just to check. Because like I said, you got to delete all of them, reconnect. Okay, 10 more. And you're like, dude, because you're never going to get another email until you clean all that up. So that's when that's a true email bomb right there. It took him about 20 seconds to send it, but it took me 30 minutes to delete it. So you could have 4 profiles on there. And my name was like Abnormal or something on there. And it is ABE. Abe Normal, but whatever. I call myself Abnormal. You couldn't talk on it, but anyway. So you had 4 profiles. So I had like 3 real profiles and another profile called The Bomber, because so the clans would contact me with people that made them mad or whatever they just didn't like, and I would just contact Mitch and say, hey, bomb this dude. So he would send that thing like 10 times to this guy. And those rumors like, oh, if you get too many emails, it'll melt your X-Band. Like nobody knew anything.
I remember that.
Nobody knew anything about it. And so that's how I got in. I was just the hitman for these clans, and they would every so often he would just send. They would just the greaser. This guy named the Greaser would send me, dude. And by the way, if anybody played X-Band that is hearing this, shoot me a message or something, man. I remember a lot of people on there. This guy named Meat Hook, he was a U-Star D guy. The Greaser. Somebody named White Wolf, all these guys. But the Greaser was the I think he was either the leader or co-leader of the other clan that was really good. But that's how I got into it, and I would just bomb that. And I remember a couple of guys. One guy made me mad, and I kept saying, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna email bomb you, man, and it might melt your X-Band if you don't leave me alone." So he was sending me riddles. So if you answer this riddle, I'll stop messing with you. And it's like, dude, him and this other guy. And I said, all right, time's up. And I said, Mitch, send like 20 of these things to him. So he just bombed him with 20. And dude never said another word to me. And in fact, his brother, whoever it was, I guess it was a brother or friend, said, dude, please don't do that to me. Please don't do that to me. I'll tell you the answer to the riddles, whatever. I said, dude, I just told you. I warned the guy like so many times. And that's what happens. You mess with Abe Normal, you get the Beavis and Butthead screensaver. But that's a great thing, man. I was good. I was good at. There was a glitch in it. Now that I mention it, I was good at Mario Kart, but this kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. Well, no, never mind. That's not true. I was gonna say I'm thinking about an emulator because you could get items. The emulator sometimes you can't pick up the items on Super NES Mario Kart, but so disregard. I was good at Mario Kart on that one. You always just played one-on-one races. I think you could do battle. I don't remember.
It was mainly one-on-one on that one.
Well, it's all one-on-one, but it's all the one-on-one races. I don't think you did battle. You remember the battle mode? I don't think you did battle mode, but it was just races, and then I think I won one Killer Instinct battle. But anyway, I'll sit here and talk about this forever. I love X-Band. That's a great thing. You can actually go, if you go to YouTube, I think there's one video about it that I could see that just has that intro and has the music. And man, I just felt so cool. I felt like some kind of hacker or something. I had a black light on. I put some Metallica on in the background or some techno funk somewhere, and just rock out.
All right, so I want to give some stats for all of our listeners about X-Band, especially since not a lot of people probably played it. But this is a really cool stat. At its height, the X-Band only had 15,000 subscribed members. So, you're looking at it, only 15,000 people really got into it. So that was pretty wild. And then here's here's just the demise of X-Band when it really started to fall. So it came out in 94, 95, and it only lasted until 97. By March 16th, 1997, this is all on Wikipedia as well, so I want to let you know where I'm getting my information from. People could only play within their local area code. So basically it about crashed everything out, because by 97 area codes started getting a lot bigger, and you start seeing areas with a lot more area codes. I know that Mississippi, where we're from, didn't have a lot of that, but when you're looking at places like Chicago, New York, all these bigger places, they started getting multiple area codes, so that means it limited you really bad on who you could play. And then on April 30th, 1997, the entire network was just flat out removed. X-Band had announced in a previous monthly newsletter that they were shutting it down, with the newsletter writer citing the service's lack of popularity as the cause. I mean, with only 15,000 people, that's pretty, it's a small population of gamers, especially during the time of Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and all of that. That was a really big point in gaming when the gaming revival was really starting to pick back up as well. And it's really funny to think that that's the gaming revival, when me and Hollywood look back and that was just olden days. It's just old days playing video games. And to think that that was actually one of the revivals of gaming, because, you had the Ataris way back when, and then you have this come in, and then, of course, the X-Band come in. Everybody really thought that the X-Band was going to be something to really revolutionize gaming, which actually it really was, because without the X-Band, you might not have had the ideas of things that came up. Not long after the X-Band goes away, you have EverQuest come out. You have online games like that start coming out. You have the PC gaming world start to really hit more online gaming from there, because once the consoles got it, the PCs were like, oh crap, we need to really beat this out. And they already did some online gaming, but they really got bigger around this time as well, because you start having Quake come out and things like that. So X-Band was although it was very limited, I think it was a very revolutionary gaming thing for online gaming, and to bring it to the world that we know now.
Yeah, Sega Saturn's modem actually used X-Band technology, and they did some X-Band with Sega Saturn, actually competition, the competitors. Mm-hmm. But it was just revolution. I mean, it was revolution. It was ahead of its time. The idea and stuff was certainly something that people could easily get on board with. I think the logistics just weren't there because of the high cost with the phone. You would have to set up a server in every state pretty much that you could just call and let them take the brunt of the phone bill or whatever. I don't know how they would do it, but it just cost too much. Like you said, we're $300 in, and back then it was just the way that the phone lines were. I remember to call Jackson, which was 30 minutes away. It was like 40 cents a minute or something. I mean, I don't remember.
Exactly.
It's just, that's the way phones were. That now my phone bill. We actually do got a landline because it kind of came with the cable, and we got cable, so we're old school. But it costs like $6, a month for anything. Call anywhere.
Exactly. Well, I mean, back then you're looking at, people hadn't started pushing the technology in the phone lines of being able to call those long distances and being cheaper. And you still had a very segmented phone companies, because you had places like Bell South, AT&T. I mean, you had all these different phone companies still at that time. They were starting to conglomerate into one area with us. Our main server, our main provider was AT&T. And once they started conglomerating, you started seeing those phone bills come down and decreasing. But by the time that happened, we were out of high school, getting out of this type of gaming and moving on to the next generation of gaming at that point. Yeah, exactly. So, SOCOM, when we get to SOCOM in just a few minutes, we're going to probably have quite a long talk on just SOCOM, because that's really where me and Hollywood really dove headfirst into online gaming, even more so than the X-Band. But the X-Band limited us because of the high cost, and so we were kind of away from it. I pulled up the list of games here. If you want to look at it, you can always go to Wikipedia, look up X-Band, and it's got the list of games it does have from Genesis, SNES, and Saturn. The reason why I wanted to bring up the Saturn is because this is Japan X-Band branded releases only. So basically, Saturn was only doing it. Looks, I'm just by reading here, it looks like it was only doing it in Japan by this time. But when Sega Saturn came out, it was past this Genesis and SNES, because that was the next step up for the Genesis, was the Saturn.
Yeah.
But they have quite a good list. You can go look at it. I don't want to read it all. The one that I do want to mention is just because I see on Saturn a game that I used to play that I loved, that I actually had the steering wheel and the gas pedals for. It was Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition. Loved that game. It was so much fun. It was a blast. I just want to mention that real quick because that was just right there, and I saw that, and it just brought back so many memories, because I remember sitting in my room Christmas morning with this steering wheel in my lap that has a shifter for it, and gas pedals down on the floor so you can actually drive the whole car. I told Mom and Dad, hey, I want to do this so I can learn how to drive a car before I get a car, because that was actually before I started driving. So, but just want to bring that up real quick. But yeah, I mean, X-Band was a revolutionary thing. Too bad that its lifespan was short, and it was an expensive system, or expensive piece. I mean, it only cost you $20 to buy it, but after that, like both Hollywood and I said, you're looking at phone bills that are astronomical and just high fees, and then getting bogged down with, if you made somebody mad, you might get the bomber on you. So, you got those kind of problems there. So it's one of those things. Want.
That's right.
And so the bomber was the original, hate mail thing. You just didn't realize it was hate mail until you couldn't play your game anymore, because it bogged your system down that bad. It was ingenious on Hollywood's part to learn that, but pretty devious as well. So that was pretty cool. But go through and read the X-Band stuff on Wikipedia and check out the videos that you can. Just check it out, because it's a really neat piece of equipment.
It is rare for videos, though. It's kind of tough to get, but you can see there's a few online. So, but if anybody has one, I guess you could still turn it on. It's not going to connect, but
yeah, there's nothing for it to connect to. There's no servers out there. It's not like some of the stuff nowadays that you could pop onto. So, well,
cool.
We'll leave it at that with that one.
Yeah, we're 30 minutes in, so that's good, though. I mean, so we'll just move on here for from X-Band, and so pick up on the 5th gen. So the last we talked about, what did we stop talking about? We kind of got to right at the Sega Saturn era. So that's just right after the SNES. But ironically, the 5th gen, that's Sega and Super NES. It's actually the Neo Geo, Philips CDI 3DO that we kind of mentioned, and the Atari Jaguar, which was the Atari's last-ditch effort at a 64-bit system during a 16-bit era that pretty much just was terrible. But So yeah, man. So Neo Geo, I mean, that thing is one that came out at like a pretty much buying an arcade cabinet right there, which that was the thing. It is actually at the arcade cabinets was the big cartridges, but the cost of the console, $650 with the games, $200 in 1989, man. Oh my gosh, that's like $1,500 console.
Neo Geos were just outpriced. I never bought a Neo Geo. I begged my parents for one, and they told me that I am stupid, I'm insane, and I'm a lunatic for even asking for anything that much. But that's one that I did not get. I did get to play one, and of course, back in the day, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so awesome!" But most people that had it had one, maybe two games, because the games were stupid price, and $200 were the cheap games. They had some games that they charged more for because they thought that they could. It was back in the day where you'd actually see different pricing on gaming at that time. So it was just, it was crazy. I'm upset Neo Geo did that because they shot themselves in the foot for it, but at the same time too, they actually help advance gaming as well doing that.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody that had a Neo Geo. Do you remember anybody that had a Neo Geo?
I actually had a cousin that had one, and I got to go over there and play it, and like I said, he only had one game for it, and he only ever had one game for it, because his parents were not going to buy him another one with that $200 a pop. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you guys can hear this on the track here, but on my end, you're kind of like sparking out a little bit. It's kind of getting robotic every so often. We can still hear what you're saying, but every once in a while it'll kind of spark out or whatever. But
Yeah, my video of you is doing the same thing. So
okay, so hopefully it's just the connection and not the recording.
Yeah, I think it's the connection, not the recording. Recording looks like it's picking up just fine for me.
Cool. All right, so then another one which I really liked was the 3DO. I mean, that's one of my favorite systems, and I actually got it for Christmas the same year that the PlayStation was coming out. And I always sort of had all the magazines, Nintendo Power, Game Pro, and that kind of deal. And I could tell by reading those magazines that, man, I think the 3DO is dying. I wish I would have asked for a PlayStation, but I didn't. I got the 3DO, which I'm glad I did, because we had a lot of fun with that thing. And that was way ahead of time. And that was supposed to be the next big thing. The guy that started it is a guy named Trip Hawkins, and he was the founder of EA, Electronic Arts. And so he kind of just started his own console thing, but they made one critical marketing mistake that just cost him the entire thing, was that they licensed out the hardware to other people, Panasonic, Magnavox, and they would develop the system. So you could buy a Magnavox system, Gold Star, something like the Panasonic FC1, and so the only way that those companies could make money was to charge extra for the system. So that was an expensive system too. You're talking about $600-$700. 32-bit, and it was in '93. So I mean, dude, you're talking. I mean, that's Nintendo. Super Nintendo came out in '91. So you're talking 2 years later, you got a 3DO out, and it's just blowing everybody away. But again, the games were reasonable because it was just a CD-based game, but $700 for a system, that's just too much. Nobody was paying that. But that was a cool thing. It was a three-button controller, which I think this was actually a pretty, especially back then. This is all you need: 3-button controller like the Genesis, except it had shoulder buttons. The bumpers like the Super Nintendo, the R and L, and the second-player controller plugged into the first-player controller, which was kind of weird. There's only one control port on the system, but it was like a computer. You got to click the back of it and the little on switch, and then it starts up. But we played games. We played Return Fire on there. That was one of my favorite games of all time. That's actually on that movie, In the Army Now, with Pauly Shore. That game that starts it off. That's the Return Fire. Do you remember that?
That's right. Yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah, that's a great game.
Yeah, I didn't play a lot of the 3DO. Hollywood had that, and I did play some with him, but I don't have a ton of memories of that one. I do remember getting a PlayStation. I remember getting it. I got it in 95, 96. I got it after it came out, after it had been out for a little bit, and I actually got it before I got a Nintendo 64, because that's also in the 5th generations there. And dude, I thought I was hot stuff when I got that PlayStation, because it was the new hotness and everything like that, and it was really awesome. I mean, the Sega 32X, I didn't realize it came out the same time as well, and I actually got the Sega 32X before I got the PlayStation. But they were awesome. It was a great console. I was like, oh man, CD quality, this is gonna be great, man. This is gonna be game changer. Which, looking back at it now, it's, oh my gosh, it's a major game changer. It basically revolutionized the way gaming was done when PlayStation came out. So that was amazing. But I just remember getting one and being like, oh my gosh, I got one.
Or Demolition Derby, yeah, that was the big game. I think that's it. I don't remember if it came with the system or not, but that's real-time damage to cars, parts flying off. I mean, that was a huge deal back then. I mean, literally, you're just a car in the middle of this arena, and it was just awesome to drive straight to the middle and just have it all converge, and it's different damage every time. And you just had to try to survive, which you didn't really care about surviving. You just like to see all the damage that can happen to the cars.
You just wanted to ram the cars. That was so much
awesome.
fun, coming through, just ramming them and see what happens when you ram them. It was a blast. It was so much fun.
Yeah. I had on the 3DO, and it took, like I told you last time, what got me to get I knew the Final Fantasy VII was coming out on PlayStation. It was originally designed to come out on the 64. But for whatever reason, cartridge-based limited Squaresoft's ability to do what they wanted to do. So they changed it to PlayStation. 3-disc, which is the first time that'd come out. But anyway, that's what got me the PlayStation. Before that, so I had the 3DO, like I said. So I had Return Fire, which is a lot of fun. Me and Drew played that all the time. We had Return Fire. I bought Doom for that. I bought Killing Time, which is like a.
I remember Killing Time.
It's like a. It's just kind of weird. It's like you're in this mansion and it's a first-person shooter, but all the images are like real people looking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it's called, but it's not cartoony, and it's supposed to be scary, but it's just kind of weird. The controls weren't as good. But Wolfenstein 3D. I mean, that game was awesome on 3DO because I think you got everything that ID ever made for Wolfenstein on that one disc.
Mm-hmm.
And I played that forever. Let's see what else. I wanted Demolition Man. It just looked real good. I never played it, but Dragon's Lair, all those. I kind of sucked into that Dragon's Lair.
Actually, Dragon's Lair was awesome because it was a old school cartoon that got turned into a video game, and so that just was really cool seeing that.
But yeah, back then you sit and you're like, man, you're automatically sucked. Oh my god, I can play this cartoon, but it's terrible, man, because you just push a button. You can literally just mash the buttons as much fast as you can. And you'll get through the game. That one and Space Ace were the two. I think I got a real good deal on both of them, and that's what I kind of did that. But they had a lot of Captain Quasar was. I just played the demo to that one. That one was a great one. I'm just trying to scroll through here real quick and just pick up something. If I've missed it. I think I had Myst for it just because that was the hotness back then. Just some random game that you can go anywhere and never figure out.
I mean, yeah, Myst was the super hotness because I remember around that time was when my parents got a PC and it came with Myst. And I got to play Myst on the PC. I didn't play it on the 3DO, but I played it on the PC, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I got Myst on the PC. It's so much cooler than the 3DO. I remember saying that to Hollywood at one time. and so we just thought we were really cool for that game. Because it's a game that had absolutely came with no instructions. You played it. If you've never checked out Myst, go check it out. It's actually a really interesting game. It's one of these adventure games that you have to figure out all these puzzles to get to the end. It's actually really it can be a complicated game at times because you actually really had to do real life puzzles, like really they were really smart and intricate puzzles. They had lots of detail to them, and you actually had to figure things out, cipher things, all kinds of stuff. It's a really cool thing. It was kind of ahead of its time, but also a really cool game to play at that time too.
So, my favorite game on there, and this is probably the best version of the game that's ever been released, and you can't get it anywhere else, is Road Rash. That game was sick on 3DO. I mean, there's no way to even describe it. It had music videos in it. It had real world music, real artists in there, and just you're racing motorcycles down streets, punching each other. Cops try to arrest you, punch them out, knock them off the bike, and everybody that you messed with, they could hold it against you, and they would either be your friend or they would come at you. If you didn't punch them, they'd leave you alone. Some people liked it when you punched them, and they want to be your friend. They respected you more. But stuff like that, you make money racing, you get bigger, better bikes, and I mean, if you just kind of left it alone, they would have this. I think the name of the band was Paw. PAW, and a song called Jesse, and it's about a dog, but it was so good. I don't remember how it goes.
Road Rash was an insane
Soundgarden
game.
was
sick. So much fun because you would get the great music and just the craziness of that game. I so remember that game. It was just, oh my gosh, just a stupid, crazy game.
So I went back and got it on PlayStation as well because I don't have a 3DO now. But I got a PlayStation 2, which I play my regular PS1 games on as well. And I went back and bought Road Rash for that. And it's the same game, except for this. All you got is the Soundgarden video. You don't have Paul. And I think there's probably not as many. So if you win the race or you get knocked off or whatever, it would switch to a little scene that was pre-recorded. Mm-hmm. And they were funny. And there was a lot of variety in those scenes. There's a ton of different scenes. And you kind of, what's going to happen? I get caught by the cops. I'm going to get arrested. You get embarrassed in front of your girl, and everybody's laughing at you if you lose or whatever the case. You come, pushing your smoking bike across the finish line, and everybody's already out drinking or something, and they're just looking at you like, oh, who's this guy? I mean, stuff like that it was great. It's such a good game.
So I pulled up some information on Road Rash because, I just remember it from the 3DO. I did not realize it actually was very first done on Sega Genesis back in 1991.
Oh yeah, it's good there too.
It was put there first, and just a really interesting thing. They actually did it scaled down version for the Master System, for the Sega Game Gear, and the Game Boy. And then they were going to do it with the SNES, but they canceled it just for whatever reason. It doesn't have any note here. But the updated version was CD platform based, was Sega CD, 3DO, PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and Microsoft Windows actually was out there. So, and in the updated version, you got more locales other than you got more locations other than just the it's an updated version. Once features all California locales. It was all in California. So you got locales: the city, the peninsula, Pacific Coast Highway, Sierra Nevada, and Napa Valley. So it's just kind of funny thinking that this game took place in just California. So, and two, looking at this, they actually made 6 different versions of Road Rash. There were 6 different versions in the series. So that's something cool to check out and look at it.
Yeah, and I jumped on the Road Rash 64. I think I rented it from Video Visions, and it was just
good old Video Visions.
That game was not fun at all, and that kind of killed it for me. But anyway, so that's the 3DO for you, and a couple of games, at least my experience with it. So I guess we'll talk about the N64 now, since we're just jumped over from the Road Rash 64, and we talked a little bit about it already. Did we talk about it the last one? I can't remember. Did we?
Which one? The
64, yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember if we talked much about it, but we'll rehash it again. It's not a big deal. So 64, it comes out, and it was awesome. It's like I remember getting it and be like, oh man, this is gonna be so cool. We can play 4 players at any time. And then when we got a hold of the controller,
I didn't mind it. A lot of people
call it an alien controller. I don't like it because I don't like trying to figure out which handle am I going to hold this time. Am I going to hold the middle handle, or am I going to hold the other one? It was a pretty decent controller. It was the first controller that had a joystick built in it that I remember using. And a real good one. I mean,
you had the old school Nintendo, Super Nintendo one, but that's the one that it had to be implemented because of the 3D games. But
yeah, and it wasn't, and that wasn't bad. That was actually, they made back then they made the controllers that were the basically the same as what you would see at the arcades. They made those, but I don't count those because those were actually separate controllers and they were made for that arcade style playing. This was the first controller that the system came with it like this, had the joystick built in. I remember that luckily they made the controllers cheap, because boy did you have to replace those controllers all the time because those little joysticks would wear out. Mario 64 was such a great game, but man, you would break a stick on it just playing that game, and not even playing aggressively. I remember I actually snapped one of the sticks in half because there was some trick that you had to do, that you had to slam it up and slam it down real quick to make something happen. I don't remember exactly what movement it was. And I did that one time, and then I looked down, and my stick is broken. And so I couldn't play the game anymore that day. I had to go beg my mom, hey, I need $20 to go buy a new controller. My controller just snapped when I was barely playing it. She got all mad at me. She said, no, you didn't do it. You got mad and threw it at the TV or something. I was like, come look at my TV. There's no dents in it this time, Mom. So it was pretty funny, with that, But overall, I mean, it was a neat system, and I think the only thing that hurt it was the fact that Nintendo was like, everybody else is coming out with CDs. Nintendo's like, I'm coming out with a cartridge. I'm staying with the cartridge. And I think that's what ended up hurting them in the long run with this one, because in this list I'm referencing here, it only sold 33 million units versus the Sony PlayStation that sold 125 million units. So you're looking at, in the same generation, the PlayStation well outsold it, and that was basically the signal that Nintendo's losing a little bit of connection with its fan base.
It pretty much never recovered. But I like this system to begin. I mean, I really do. I liked it. I know a lot of people don't like it, and even now, if I kind of brush off the nostalgia, yeah, I mean, I can definitely see why people can hate on it. But with the nostalgia, for me, that it kind of wins it over. I mean, Mario 64 is my favorite Mario game there is.
It was a blast. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It had secrets in it. You know, to play a game that had so many secrets was really neat about it too. That was really cool.
But the GoldenEye, of course, we had so many fun after school shootouts on that one. And that's where they introduced the Rumble Pack. That's where everybody gets the shaking of the controllers. Mm-hmm. It first started with Nintendo 64 was a separate accessory that you had to plug in there. Had to have batteries and all this, and it was just
didn't
amazing.
Didn't that come with GoldenEye?
I can't remember if it came with GoldenEye or not. I know that it. What did it come with? What? I don't remember. Look it up. I think I don't remember what it came with, but I know that when you got the 45 pistols or whatever, and you shoot it, and then it would right because the trigger, the Z button is right under the joystick. And so it's like you were pulling a trigger on a gun, and it would shake, and that was just amazing back then. But those are the two games that really cut me. And I played Ocarina of Time. I finished it, but I didn't really like it as much. Did you get the answer?
Yeah, I did get the answer. It actually came with Star Fox 64.
I was about to say Star Fox. I was about to say
Star Fox 64 is what it came with. And now that I say that, I remember that it came in that packaging. Yep. So... speaking of that, of the Legend of Zelda for 64, that's one of the Zeldas that I dove head deep in, and I loved that one. That was one of my favorites because you had free roam, and it was 3D. It wasn't the flat style scroller. You had the 3D to it. And now back in what was it, the Link to the Past that was on Super Nintendo, correct?
Yeah.
Link to the Past, that was a lot of fun because I remember in that one you could pick up the chickens and throw them. And that was kind of the fun thing to do in that one. But when you move over to the Ocarina of Time...
The whole game you're talking about chickens. Oh, that
exactly.
whole big game.
that whole game, you had everything to do in there. And the one thing I remember is grab a chicken and throw it and keep on hitting the chicken until they attack you.
And that's what makes it a good game because it got a chicken.
You got some crazy things like that. Oh, yeah. Don't get me started about the chickens because Destiny 2 has Ralph the Chicken in it now. I wish they would have do a little more with it, but I'll get to that later. But Ocarina of Time, it was just really interesting because you had this, you had Link starting out little bitty and you get to see him grow and all this other stuff and do all this fun things with him. It was a really interesting game and a lot of fun to me, and I liked it because you could do all kinds of stuff. I mean, when you see little Link, you go run over to where the stables were, and you'd see a little, just newborn horse. When you come back when you're big, the horse is big, and that's the horse you get to ride in the game. So it was really neat that it had all of those kind of connection things through it, and it was a full open world. You could run anywhere you wanted to. You had your little markers for where you needed to go, but it was open world, and that was a lot of fun to me because I liked exploring at that time because it was just like, let's go exploring. I mean, now in the games, I'm just like, let me do my missions, get them done, and then I'll go explore.
Yeah,
But that game was just a lot of fun to me, and I really enjoyed it. It was, my introduction. It was kind of my first game that I just really remembered a heart that was, one that really drew me into the whole open world experience and to play the open world along with Mario 64.
There's usually like two camps with Zelda. There's the 2D guys and the 3D, and I'm a 2D guy, man, all the way. Not counting Breath of the Wild, which is arguably one of the best games ever made, and it's probably my favorite Zelda now. Breath of the Wild, unbelievable. But I just wanted to get that out there before I say that I'm not a 3D Zelda fan, which I'm not. Again, other than Breath of the Wild, Link to the Past was my favorite one. Link to the Past, and I like Link's Awakening for the Game Boy. But Ocarina of Time, I bought it when it came out. I couldn't wait for it. I remember cutting grass to get the money and so on. Mm-hmm. And played it and loved it. And then I remember going to another temple, or going to another dungeon, and then kind of going, I got to finish this dungeon too. So that's when I kind of realized, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be enjoying this, and I'm not. Look, it's like a chore to go through this dungeon. Now, in retrospect, I guarantee it was probably after the ice dungeon, the water dungeon, which that they changed it in the new remix and the remastered or whatever for 3DS and whatnot. But you had to get to the dungeon, you had to keep putting on these iron boots so you would sink. take them off so you would float. Well, you had to go all the way into the menu, start menu, switch over. It's just really a pain. A lot of just flipping through menus just to get an item equipped or de-equipped or whatever, and that just killed it. And like I said, they changed it now because they realized it was hindering the game, but I think that's where I stopped liking it. And I ended up finishing it. I never played Majora's Mask, but there's a lot of people out there that believe the Ocarina of Time is the best game ever, much less the best Zelda game, and I'd like to see what they think about that now since the Breath of the Wild is out, because they killed it, man. Breath of the Wild.
Now, I can't say anything because I hadn't played Breath of the Wild yet, but I have Hollywood, and I also have another one of my friends that have played it and love it and say it's a fantastic game, and they're actually two people I trust on their opinion of games. But for me, Ocarina of Time was an amazing game. It was really cutting edge. It actually pushed Mario Brothers 4 further than what it went. It pushed those types of graphics and pushed that further. And I'm a very graphical person. I like graphics. I'm a computer person by nature, so all of that stuff really intrigued me. Getting to see that push and that jump in the graphics for video games. And it was a really well-written story. And that's what I liked about it. I love story games. Me and Hollywood can go all day long about how, one of us would be playing Final Fantasy and the other one was sitting there watching it because it's like watching a movie to us. It felt like we were watching a movie during that. And Ocarina of Time for me kind of carried on that whole story of a game tradition, having that really good story, just really good controls, just everything just felt right about that game. And that's why I really think that it's arguably one of the best games ever. Really, I'm going to throw that out there, and I feel like it is, because it's just got the classic feel to it. It's got so many great elements in it, and you get to see so much, and the way that it's so well connected inside of itself, you don't see many holes in its storyline. And it's just a really, really well done game, and I have to give the people that made it credit for that, because they did a great job on it.
Yeah, the only problem with the storyline is how it splits off Miyamoto tried to. Everybody was wanting the Zelda storyline. The timeline for Zelda. Where does Zelda 1 take place? Where does Zelda 2 take place? Mm-hmm. And this have you seen the timeline?
No, I hadn't seen it.
It's obviously just a thrown together, like we're just trying to satisfy the fans. It breaks off where young Link, where Zelda turns him back young and sends him back away so he can relive his childhood. That branches off a timeline. Well, old Link continues on after he kills Ganon. That's a timeline. Old Link is defeated by Ganon. That's another timeline. So it branches off. That's literally the timeline of Zelda. Mm-hmm. In fact, the old school NES, and then the only direct sequel was Zelda 2. So Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. And then that was actually the only direct sequel in the timeline. And those happen at the end of the Zelda story.
Oh, wow.
So, man, they had a lot planned. They had a whole lot planned. I guess they had planned out the next 10 years, right? Which is obviously.
Exactly.
So, anyway. So, that's pretty much all it is for the 64 for me. Those are the big games for me, the big moments that I remember offhand with Golden.
The 64 for me was Conker's Bad Fur Day. And I remember we did talk about that on the last podcast, so I won't go into any more of that. If you want to hear any more stories about Conker's Bad Fur Day, go listen to the last podcast, Retro Part 1. And but that to me, that was my summation of my 64 was the Conker's Bad Fur Day. I loved that game. That game was awesome. I so want an emulator that does it well, and I haven't found an emulator that does it well yet. So if anybody's got links to an emulator that can pull that one off, let me know, because I really want to do that. Get to play that game again.
Which, of course, you're going to buy the game before you emulate it, because it'd be illegal.
Do what?
You're going to buy the game first before you emulate it, because it would be illegal. Yeah. So anyway,
and like I said, I still think I have my cartridge over here in a drawer. So
anyway, sorry if I keep coughing. I'm just coming over a cold, so sorry if it's bothering everybody. But
and I've got a little bit of the sniffles too, but that's what I get for having seasonal allergies.
Oh yeah, so I got that too. And in Florida, it's just bad. But anyway, so Fur Day, I actually had a chance to buy that again. It had already been collectible at that point, and so I think it was $50 that I got offered, And I was like, nope, not gonna. It's either 40 or 50, and I turned it down, which now it's like over 100.
Yeah.
Which is, they've been going up. But anyway, I never played it, and I'm trying to just narrow down systems. I mean, I don't know. I got a bunch of games for several different systems, but I don't hardly play any of them. But anyway, so moving on from the N64 to PlayStation 1, and we kind of talked about what are some big games that you remember on that system besides Final Fantasy VII.
The other big game that I remember is Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto started on the PlayStation 1 for us. I remember playing it and having a blast with it, and Gran Turismo. Those are the two that just stand out for me, because Grand Theft Auto, all you ever did, it was a flat game. It wasn't overhead, like it is now. Yeah, it was an overhead flat view, so you're kind of looking at it like that. It was almost like a side scroller. All I ever did in that game was beat up somebody to see how fast the car was, to drive it all the way across town to see if I can make it all the way across town and smash into something. I remember that's mainly what I did. I didn't really put too much play the missions or anything on it, which, I mean, I think most people probably did the same thing too. It's just like, let's see how fast we can go and see if we can survive this crash. The motorcycles were so much fun to drive.
I forgot about that.
and they were crazy because you just go to town. And then the school bus. The school bus was the funniest thing because it took you forever to get going any kind of speed. But once you did, it was like a bulldozer going to town. I mean, it was just plowing through everything. Insane. So much fun, though. It was a blast. And then Gran Turismo, that was the first great racing game. I know I talked about the other one on the Saturn that I thought was a lot of fun, but I really think that Gran Turismo did it right because it was the first one that you felt like you were really driving a real car. The Daytona one, you were on a racetrack that
arcadey.
Was like a regular one. Yeah, it had the real arcade feel. This did not have an arcade feel. You really had to work at it to be able to drive it. You had to gain license to be able to drive certain courses and things like that. It was a really, really well thought out game, and it was tough too. And it really, I think it really grew the gaming on driving games. Excuse me. So you had that kind of stuff going on there. It was really, really awesome game. A lot of fun. Those were the two that really stood out to me.
Yeah, I remember. I forgot about the Gran Turismos, and actually own Gran Turismo 2 and 3, which is a PS2, which is a great game too. Is it 3 or 4 that I got? I can't remember, but I played it, and it actually has graphics. The PS2 version of Gran Turismo has graphics like the 360. It's phenomenal. Back then it's crazy, but Symphony of the Night was my big game that I really liked. Ended up trading that in to GameStop, which I got it on Xbox 360 arcade now, but that's a groundbreaking game too. That's where you get the Metroidvania type deals there. And so that one, and let's see, I know I had a bunch of like Breath of Fires, and Metal Gear Solid came out. That was the one that was another groundbreaking one, Metal Gear Solid 1. And that one was like the only one that was kind of tolerable for me. Well, actually, Metal Gear Solid 3 was good too. And Metal Gear Solid 2, my gosh, at the freaking videos. I mean, you're sitting there, you see a cutscene, you might as well go order a pizza. Because you're going to be sitting there watching it for, I mean, I don't know how long the longest one is. I mean, I want to say it's like 45 minutes or something for a freaking cutscene.
It's pretty much a movie. They went all out on that one to try to make it as movie feeling as possible. And I think that kind of hurt that game, or not kind of, it did hurt that game. So
yeah, and Hideo Kojima, I mean, he like prides himself on the his story and all this, which I mean, you have to go. You can, and it's addicting when you know the story. I didn't know any of the story while playing the games, but if you go to YouTube and look up Metal Gear Solid story, I mean, it'll spell it out for you, and it's actually pretty involved, and it's actually a well written story. But that's not what I get a video game like Metal Gear for. I want to. Well, now you would, and if you say you get Metal Gear to play it, you're like, oh, dude, you don't want to watch the movies because it's going to be a bunch of them. I hadn't played Part 4, but just because of the movies, so I didn't even bother. Yeah. So anyway, we'll probably go about 30 minutes long on this one at least, and that's cool. I I don't mind that. I mean, you guys can, if anybody wants to cut it off, of course, cut it off, cut it back on whenever you want. But we're going to kind of break our hour rule here because we're just now getting to Saturn, which Saturn is your deal because I never had a Saturn. You were the first one to have a Saturn. First, like you said, Daytona USA, you got all the accessories with it, the steering wheel, the pedal. You bought Knights when that first came out, and that had the controller. That was the new thing coming out. What else did you get for it?
The one game that will always stand out in my mind because I'm a huge fan of dragons. I love dragons. I love the mythological study of that. If you ask any of my friends that I've played D&D with, my main character that I played with for years, he ended up becoming a dragon. That's how crazy I went into that thing. Panzer Dragoon.
Yep.
Awesome game. It was so much fun. It was so much fun because you were a dragon rider and you were flying your dragon through a ruined world. It was basically like Earth had been ruined and it was just water everywhere that had gone over. You'd see ruins of columns and things and of cities and stuff, and you were just fighting these other bad dragons, bad enemies, and things like that. I don't remember it too well. I say it stands out in my head, and I don't remember it too well because, I mean, heck, now I feel like I'm really old thinking about this because that was a long time ago now when I look back at it. But, man, that game was so awesome for the fact that you actually got to fly. You know, there wasn't too many games that really dove into the whole let's let the character fly. And you got to fly and fly a dragon at that. And I ate that up.
Yeah, so what it basically was just a skinned, fantasy skinned 3D shooter, but it was done really well. Even regardless of what it was, it could have had jets or whatever. It was dragons, which made it cool, and of course that played into part 2, and I believe they had a part 3, which I think you'd get off the dragon at that point. But
yeah, 3 you could go back and forth and ride the dragon and all that. So.
But Panzer Dragoon Saga is the role-playing version of that, which I'd never played, but man, is that an expensive game now. I mean, you're talking about $500, $600, probably. Jeez. I'm probably underestimating it because you can't play it any other way. But that's a very collectible one now. That was toward the end of the lifespan of the Saturn. But that the Saturn I don't think it had a modem. Yeah, it had a modem involved with it, but I don't remember any online games that they had in America.
They didn't push any online games in America, not that I know of, not from my aspect. I never played any online, but it did have a modem built in. It was down to the bottom. You flipped it over, you could see the little plug to plug your phone line in. And when my parents saw that, they were like, "You better not plug that into our phone line."
I remember X-Band.
Quick. I got jumped on really quick when they saw that when I opened the box, and I was, because every time I'd open the box, it was always for Christmas. I always get my new systems at Christmas, and when I opened it up and I flipped it over, just checking it out, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's got a modem in it!" And my parents they turned white as ghosts, about lost their mind, and both of them in unison was like, "You better not plug that into our phone line." Now, granted, I'm going to leave it clean for this, but that was not the words they used because they were quite upset with that phone bill, with those couple of phone bills that we had.
Yeah.
So it shows you how bad of taste it left in our parents' mouth that X-Band did.
So, all right, well let's go ahead and jump to the PS2, which is one of my favorite systems ever. Selling 155 million units, basically riding the wave of the PlayStation 1 success. However, that's not the only reason. It's the first system that was backwards compatible, so you could play PlayStation 2 and 1 games on it. And the big killer of all was that it had a DVD player. And the fact that it had a DVD player, that was my first DVD player. I remember going to Walmart and buying Gone in 60 Seconds and something else.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was The Rock or something like that, and man, that was awesome. An awesome console. I got the Summoner. I got it for Christmas as well. Funny story, real quick, about how I got this. I wanted Mom to get me one for Christmas, and if you remember, this was like the first instance to where the people were scalping them on. They were. Let me see how much they were. $200, I think, or $300.
It was $300 when they first came out, if I'm not mistaken. Don't fully.
Yeah, $300. So and it went down to $200. So anyway, $300. People were selling them for over $1,000 on eBay, and people were buying them. That is, 300-400% markup, and so people were buying them. So my mom, being the sweet lady that she is, had to make sure her son had one for Christmas. So she called around and called her friend who worked at a Walmart or something and said, hey, I'm looking for this. She said, okay, yep, go to, and they were impossible to find. They were impossible to find. You just figured, well, I'm not going to get one. In fact, Mike, our friend Mike, that we went to college with, he got one for Christmas too. His girlfriend bought it for him off of eBay for like $1,000. That's how he got it. And so,
wow.
And that's how the scalpers do their thing. They're betting on people like that. Oh, I got to get in this. This is so rare. Anyway, so the person told my mom, hey, there's 2 at this Walmart. Go there and get it. So she shows up and asks for a PlayStation 2. Like, oh, we don't have any. We're sold out. She goes, no, I know y'all got 2 in the back. And they look at each other, the 2 guys, they look at each other. Oh, okay. They went and got her one, brought them out, gave her one. She went and checked out and left. End of the story. She calls her friend and says, hey, yeah, I went to the Walmart, and they told me I didn't have one. She goes, oh, no, that was a different Walmart. So she went to a whole different Walmart, and just that shows you that there's 2. The employees want them. It's kind of like the NES Classic or whatever. Now you don't know if they're putting them out.
Yep.
But the fact that she said, oh, there's 2, and they kind of looked at each other like, oh, how does she know that? She knows somebody. And so it was a whole wrong Walmart. So 2 Walmarts had 2. As far as the public was concerned, they were sold out. Mm-hmm. They were very difficult to get, and you had to wait till after Christmas to get one. I actually got one, though, with Summoner and Kessin, which was just a strategy game. I didn't know what it was. It just looked cool. And Summoner was okay. It was a decent RPG for the time. But the first one that came out did not have the modem on the back. You had to buy an extra attachment for the modem, which was an Ethernet cord for the greatest game ever made, SOCOM.
Oh my
Greatest
gosh.
Online shooter in the world.
So much fun.
Absolutely. And my name on there was the Deacon. And again, if anybody's played, we were in D4.
D4.
DEFCON 4 was our clan, and I was the Deacon. I was D4 Deacon. So if anybody out there, especially SOCOM 2 is kind of where we really were at the height of it, was a member of those, G.I. Joe 101st, Night Stalker, all these guys that we're playing with. Man, hit me up, dude. I don't know if y'all still play or whatever, but any online game, but it'd be fun to run with you guys again on Destiny or whatever the case. This
will show you just how far this gaming name for me goes back. I was Clearfire on that game. On SOCOM, I was Clearfire. I cannot tell you how far back the name Clearfire goes. I think it goes back to probably the mid-90s when I was our buddy Steven, when me and him were the computer guys. We, when I wasn't hanging out with Marcus, I was with Steven. We were hacking computers. I could tell you stories about that all day long, but I'm not going to go into that lifestyle. But Clearfire, I was Clearfire on that one, and oh my gosh, dude, the stories, we can probably go all night long just on SOCOM. Yeah. It was so much fun. And we might have to do, you know what, right now...
We're going to do SOCOM.
I'm calling it. We're going to do a SOCOM. We're going to do a SOCOM, so I'm not going to share many stories on that right now because it's just so many of them. It's so much fun. But yeah, our clan was a top 50 clan all the time. We had a blast on it. D4 was a blast. We had a forum. I ended up becoming a clan leader in there. Hollywood was kicking it hard in there too. And, it was just so much fun because this is the time too where me and Hollywood didn't get to see a lot of each other because we went to separate schools at this time. This is our college years. We did get to play when we were at Jones together, but then Hollywood went down to Southern and I went up to Mississippi State. And so this was our way of being able to hang out, was we had these games and we're able to play SOCOM online. I remember when SOCOM first came out and I played it for 36 hours straight in my dorm room at Starkville. And, oh no, that was SOCOM 2. I'm sorry. That was SOCOM 2. Because SOCOM 2 was then. SOCOM 1 was more at Jones and everything, correct? Or am I wrong on that?
Yeah. Well, I played SOCOM 1 first at, I was at Southern.
Okay, yeah, they were at Southern.
SOCOM 2 was more, I think that was when I was at Full Sail.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember waiting on that one.
So,
yeah, that was that
so
Full
SOCOM
Sail.
1, yes, I was right about that. SOCOM 1, I played 36 hours straight. No lie. It was no sleep, no nothing, because I was at state. And I had every Tuesday and Thursday off. And I literally, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was done with class on that Monday. I played from that 1 o'clock until I had to go to class Wednesday. And actually, I got lucky in some of my first classes got canceled. And I just still steadily played. I remember calling my friends saying, hey, come bring me a pizza. And they were like, okay, cool, yeah, no problem, And I was like, come check out this game. I'm playing this game. Come bring me a pizza. And they'd bring a pizza and check it out. And then I'd quit talking to them because I'm just so into this game, playing it. And it wasn't that I was actually playing the missions. I was playing it online and going to town on it because
nobody played the missions.
At state, we had free Ethernet there in the dorm rooms, and so I just hooked it straight up to the dorm wall and went to town. Man, it was so much fun.
The thing about it, it was a online shooter. 8v8, and you pick your guy, you pick your loadout, grenades, secondaries, flash bomb, smoke, concussion. Then you had your M16 or M4. You had an M16 too, but you're heavy, or you can get a silencer. The SEALs were the only one that had silencers, and so some people that silencers were a huge advantage. Anyway, we'll talk about all that in the later, but I just wanted to cover this part. The best part about that game is, unlike the shooters today, is that when you died, you're dead. You had to wait, and you couldn't talk to anybody except for other dead people. And so what that did, it opened up a lot of strategy. A lot of people, there was always like a choke point on the map where you kind of just run right at it and throw grenades over it or whatever. But man, if you just I'm going to take a risk here, and I'm going to blast straight through this grenade wall, basically, and just try to beat the grenades. And if you can get through that, you're going to lay waste to about 3 or 4 people, because they don't expect some wild man to run through there and start shooting them up. And it was a great, so like I said, man, we could talk about that one forever. That is definitely one of my favorite games ever, and a lot of great experiences on there. They took the servers down, Zipper Interactive, and I don't think they're decommissioned. They're not even a company anymore. But I think they tried to keep it going in PlayStation 3. I think they sold it to somebody, and they didn't do it well. I never played any of those, and then they tried to come out with like a 250-man Warzone deal.
Yeah, they were really big with it because they were trying to compete with Xbox at the time and trying to go there. But yeah, we're definitely going to do a podcast on nothing but SOCOM 1 and 2, and just go to town on that, because like I said, we got lots of stories on that. That was definitely our full head blown full push into online gaming and the FPS style gaming. Of course, I dropped off at FPS after SOCOM and didn't too much care for it, but man, dude, SOCOM was the hit back in the day. It was the game that you knew you had to play, and everybody was playing. It was so awesome.
So anyway, yeah. So that's the 2 big games that I remember for PS2. Well, the 2 games. Let me see. So Final Fantasy. My biggest games were there was Final Fantasy X, and I actually got 12 on that, and I never finished it. I was in the military. I was deployed, and got to a spot on there to where. You couldn't save it, but it was a real big dungeon. I had to run through there and ended up getting killed, so I lost all my data. I was like, I'm not even going to go back and try to make up for 4 hours worth of play. And so I just stopped playing it there. I'm sure that happened to a few people. But Final Fantasy X, I think, is one of the last great Final Fantasies. Final Fantasy 15 was good. I played it through. It's just too short. The story was all over the place. I didn't really understand it, but anyway, so Final Fantasy X and it's SOCOM, man, and of course the Grand Theft Autos 3, San Andreas, all those kind of things, the groundbreaking, open world, crime game. So those are the big ones for me that I remember offhand.
Those are
on PlayStation 2.
For me, Final Fantasy 11 was actually a big one, because Final Fantasy 11 first came out on the PlayStation 2, and that was the way that you got a hard drive for your PlayStation 2. And I was so pumped up that I got this game, and now I have a hard drive. But I was a person that I didn't like to pay for my online playing games. I didn't want to pay the $15 a month membership fee and all that. So I played it came with the 30-day free trial. I played Final Fantasy 11 literally for 30 days, put it down, and I was like, I'm not paying any more for it. I really only bought the game for the hard drive, which it came in handy, but the PlayStation 2 eventually blew up. I actually still got it in a cabinet over here. It doesn't halfway work, but I kept it just because I was like, I'm keeping it. I'm not selling another system, and that was the end of me losing systems, with the exception of the Xbox, because both the Xboxes I had absolutely busted to no working end at that point. At one point, so.
Of all the systems that I have, I mean, I don't know if I name them off. I mean, I got a bunch of stuff: Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, 360, Wii U, PlayStation 4, I think PlayStation 2, I think I said that, PlayStation Vita, Game Boy Color, Game Boy DS, and I actually got a USB, retro USB, which is I play my NES on there, which is an awesome system. It's just Nintendo in HD. And, but I had, we're talking about SOCOM, that, when I was playing WoW at the time, I had WoW and SOCOM in 2007, 2008, or 2007. That's when I bought the 360 to finally get back. That's what started me back into gaming. So I had the 360, and that was it, besides the PlayStation 2. And then I just started watching a bunch of videos online and seeing some old retro games. Oh, this brings back some memories, and, hey, I got a little money now. It's not it's $50, buy me a Nintendo. Let's just kind of get back into it and kind of started collecting again. But anyway, so I kind of fell out of that, got back into it that way. But anyway, so let's talk about the game, the Dreamcast when it came out. I remember it came out before. It got a head start on the PlayStation, got a head start on the Xbox, and it flopped. It
flopped so bad. I feel bad for it because it was a fantastic concept. I'll put it that way. I'm not gonna say it's a fantastic system. I'll just say fantastic concept. It had the 4 controller ports on the front. It had a modem built into it, or did that one? I think the first edition didn't. You could buy the modem for it.
Yeah, you had to buy it separate.
And the second edition had the modem built in. Because I remember I think they came out with a second edition. It didn't last very long. But well ahead of its time. I mean, it's just graphic wise, it was up there. If it would actually been released a year after the PlayStation 2, I think it actually would have done better. But because it released before the 2000s, it released in '99. I think that actually hurt it because everybody was still attached to the Sony PlayStation, the N64, and that they were still into that those games there, and they weren't ready for the big graphic push that the actually Dreamcast brought with it.
Well, I think the Dreamcast is an awesome system, and it just Sega at this point had already kind of made the consumers wary. We already talked about PlayStation was already just crushing it. And then PlayStation 2, everybody knew the PlayStation 2 was coming out, so everybody's saving their money. Sega has already promised us a 32-bit system with the Sega Saturn, which they did deliver. It's a decent system. But before that, they were with the we talked about earlier, on a previous episode, the Sega CD, the 32X. They're like, wait a minute, why are you going to release and we didn't even talk about the Virtual Boy, by the way, so Nintendo's done this too. But why are you going to release a 32-bit system when we 6 months before the Sega Saturn? So it looked like they didn't know what they were doing. They said, wait a minute, you're going to CDs for the Sega Saturn, but now you're going back to cartridges on the 32X. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, so they kind of lost the faith of their customers with that by the time the Dreamcast came out. So everybody's kind of like, well, why would I buy this? Who knows what they're going to come out with next? I can just go ahead and get a PS2 and ride the hundreds and hundreds of games that the PlayStation has. Yeah, it's backwards compatible. I mean, Dreamcast was none of that. Not backwards compatible. It didn't play DVDs. Yep. Just a game system. That's what they marketed it as. It's just a straight game system. Mm-hmm. But, so that's kind of why it failed. It was made on CDR, so anybody could they could rent a game and burn it. Mm-hmm. And then so that kind of messed them up too.
Yeah, they actually had no security features on it to keep the games from being able to be burned or be copied, because I remember about 97, 98 was when you started having a lot of burning CDs for music and everything. and Dreamcast just rolled right into that, and you could rip a game. It was really easy. I hate to say that I did it, but I remember ripping a game for it. Buddy had it, and I was like, I don't want to buy it, and let me rip it from you. But that was also too, 2001-ish when I was in college, so I had to pay for things myself at that time. So, you had that kind of stuff happening. So,
yeah. So Nintendo had released their own little next generation system. What are we on? Generation 7, I think, with the
on 6.
PlayStations. Let's see.
6 with the
6th is through 98. That's Sega Saturn, PlayStation, and so I'm talking about PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, so that's the 7th.
That's the 6th generation from what I got right here.
Okay. It just says next generation,
Okay.
so whatever. It's all in the same. Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox. Yeah. And GameCube I bought for the Wind Waker, and that's pretty much it. I mean, they had a couple of good games. They had Eternal Darkness on there, which is really... They actually started a Kickstarter to try to get that re-released with upgraded graphics, or at least the guy that made it to come back. That was really a mind screw type of game, because do you remember that game? It's a horror game, and so you're playing it top down, kind of looking, and then all of a sudden a blue screen will pop up and say, "Oh, your system's crashing" or whatever, and it's really part of the game.
Oh yeah,
or
yeah,
the volume,
I remember that, yeah.
The volume would turn up on your TV because it's supposed to make you. The idea is that you're kind of going insane slowly throughout the game, and if you don't do something, I can't remember what it was, but you do something to get your sanity meter down and all that. That and Zelda were the only 2 real games that I remember on the GameCube. It sold 13 million units. This is after the 64, which I believe that was pretty much the downfall of Nintendo. Nintendo's not down by any means. Don't get me wrong. That's just, I should say, not the downfall of Nintendo, but at least when they lost hold of the market with the 64.
So they had a major fallout in the market. Basically the N64 was what hurt them, because you're looking at the Super Nintendo that sold 49 million units, and then you go to your N64 that only sold 33 million units, and then 2001 your GameCube sells 21 million units. So you're looking at this slow decrease from the giant. Now they're the ones playing catch up, because when you look at the PS1, it sold 125 million units, and it's just a huge drop off for it. That Nintendo didn't know what to do, because when the PS2 comes out, it sold 138 million copies, and so you've got that going on. And Nintendo just didn't know how to recover. It was just it just really hurt it at that time. So
another one that I'd never owned, and I never really cared to own, was the Microsoft Xbox. So at this point, 2001, Microsoft throws its hand in the video game arena, and of course they had the killer app Halo, and that's pretty much what sold them. So they had the 2 games that I know for sure that were really popular on Xbox, and I'm sorry if I'm missing somebody else's favorite game, because I never played it. Halo was obviously one, Halo 2, and then Knights of the Old Republic is arguably one of the best RPGs ever made. I actually own that game and been playing it on 360. Didn't get very far on it, but that was arguably one of the best RPGs ever made, and that really was exclusive to Xbox.
Yeah, I was about to jump on you if you did not say Knights of the Old Republic for the other game, because that's the only reason why I bought an Xbox. I bought it for Knights of the Old Republic. I played it and loved it. It was my favorite game. I played Knights of the Old Republic 2. Great, 2 fantastic games. So awesome, so much freedom in it. And if you're a Star Wars fan, go play those games. They're so awesome. Loved them. I would play them again now. They're fantastic games. It's the only reason why I got an Xbox, and I will be the first one to tell you I hate Halo. Halo to me was a terrible game. I hated it.
It was awesome.
I thought it was terrible. I hated it. I never liked it. I played it with you several times. I played it with other people several times. I never owned it. I just could never get into it. I hated it. And I think it was because SOCOM, you shot people and they died. Halo, you shot people, they came back, and you shot them with wizard guns, and now I'm playing Destiny. So I mean that's
wizard guns. I've never heard of it called wizard guns.
That's
awesome.
what comes out of the top of my head.
It's not bullets, it's wizard guns, magic.
That's the kind of randomness that you're gonna get if you keep on listening to the podcast later on. As we grow and do more things, you're gonna get random sayings from me because that's what I do. But yeah, I mean, just you shot space guns, wizard guns, whatever you want to call them. It was just, I couldn't get into it. I did not like it. I never really played it. My brother, he got super addicted into it. Him and his buddies played it like crazy, but I told them they were stupid, they were crazy. It's a terrible game, and I still stand by to it to this day. And you can give me all the hate mail you want, but I don't
think it's a terrible.
I'm just gonna say it's terrible. I just don't like it. It's just, that's my personal opinion. If it's your favorite game, oh well, I just don't like it. It's just nothing you can say or do to get me to like it.
Well, I will say that it's Bungie, and that has started the whole Destiny. That's where they got the mechanics for the Destiny shooter. That's one of the best controlling games ever made, is Halo. And I never played it. I never owned, like I said, on the Xbox. I played it with some friends at Full Sail. We'd always line everybody up. Excuse me. And play a lot of multiplayer like that. And I'm with you on the I started getting frustrated too. I start shooting somebody up and they turn around and kill me with 2 shots. I said, dude, how did you just kill me with 2 shots? This is after SOCOM,
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're kind of like, dude, this game's not real. Like, what do you mean it's not real? I said, I understand it's space and wizard guns, right? But I'm shooting you so many times in the back of the head. If you put it on no shields and put it on pistols, I'll start doing work, because that's SOCOM style.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I'm with you. I'm with you on, not that it's a terrible game, but I'm with you on it. Maybe it's acquired taste, especially after you've been playing Call of Duties, playing SOCOMs, stuff like that online, where it's more realistic. But it was a great controlling game, epic story. So I could definitely see how that's the killer app and how that kind of got people going. But and in fact, a friend of mine, Blair, when he first got in the military, had a 360 and played Halo 3 on it. We can go ahead and jump to this generation.
Yeah.
Had Halo 3, and I thought that game, I went over there and played it, and he's like, man, it's just weird. You know me, a video game guy, and I go over there and say, when is this this is the new Xbox? I don't know anything about it. I used to know everything about stuff like that. What was coming out, this type of deal. And he's like, yeah, so I started playing. I was like, this is pretty cool. Well, we all got together in class one day when we were going through training. We're like, dude, when we get off let's all go buy 360s and we'll just play Halo 3 tonight. All right, cool. And man, I bought the TV that I have now, a flat screen now, at that same, when I first moved in over there, and dude, hooking up that 360 with Halo 3, oh my gosh, that was a phenomenal game, beautiful game, and that's one of the best online multiplayers, especially for Halo, that exists, in my opinion. That was a phenomenal, and the ranking system that they do, it's not about just playing, you got to be good, to get your next rank and whatnot. And so I think that was one of the best. I had the most fun playing online with that game than any others so far.
So my 360 experience was, at this time I kind of was falling out of gaming a little bit. I had my craziness of where I decided, I think it's a great idea to get married. Let me tell you this, guys. Don't be 23 and get married. Don't do it. It's a dumb move. I'm divorced from that one, and it's not a smart move. So I'm telling you now, if you're young listening to this, don't get married unless you know it's a sure thing and you've been with the person for a bazillion years. It's just one of those things where I learned a valuable lesson. Was only dating the girl not even for a full year before I proposed, and it ended bad. Just that's how I'm gonna leave it. But
what happened? Y'all get in a big fight or something, or y'all just?
She's just crazy.
Stop working. She just got crazy.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. She's crazy. She's crazy. If I start talking about it, I'm gonna use some language I don't want to use on this, because that's how much I feel about it. She's just crazy.
She just wouldn't work anything out.
She wouldn't. She didn't want to work anything out. She didn't want to do anything like that. It was a terrible.
I just never talked to you about it.
It was a terrible situation. Yeah, I probably need to talk to you, because I remember calling you saying I'm getting a divorce. I remember calling you. I was in tears about to tell you that, because I don't believe in divorce. That's one of those things that I just don't do. But with this one, I had to do it, because that's the only way that would save my life. I probably would not be here if I was still with her. That's how crazy she is. So
I will say this though. I remember y'all threw some parties over there, and they were kind of random, which made them fun. It was like, hey, we're gonna have a costume party.
Yep.
It's like, all right, cool. And it's like, guys come as pirates, girls come and dressed for prom or something like that. You know, it's just so random.
We threw some great parties. So, I'll give her that. She could party, but
but anyway, like I dressed up as a pirate. I don't know if you even know this story, and it actually showed up as a pirate. I thought it was just a Halloween costume, but y'all changed the rules last minute to pirates for dudes. I was happened to be a pirate, so I went back. I thought we were the first ones there, me and Jenny, and so I went into the back, and I was knocking on the door. Nobody came to the door, so I just came on in, and I was hiding behind the wall, waiting for you to come around the corner, and you came around the corner, and I jumped out with a knife, like like that, and put it. It was a fake knife, of course. Put it up against your throat, and I was like like that, and it was somebody else that I never met, you know, some random dude, and he was just like, he was like, okay, he probably scared the heck out of that dude, man. I was about to, you know, it's just hilarious, man. It's like, oh, my bad, bro. Cool costume, by the way.
And what was funny is I actually broke my own rule at that party. Everybody, you know, all the guys.
You didn't come as.
I came as a freaking gargoyle. I did the full makeup.
You were back there. You had like 3 or 4 people. Everybody was back there putting your makeup on, like you're about to go on some freaking Hollywood blockbuster or something. But it looked good. I remember that. It was all serious.
It was a lot of fun. So
there was a lot of fun parties there.
Back to
video games.
That's the reason why I was kind of out of gaming for a little bit, out of touch. You know, I'd lost, you know, what's going on and everything. And so my introduction to it was actually one of my friends through her. His name's Rajiv, and it was Rock Band. So we would have Rock Band parties all the time and play Rock Band together. And so for Christmas, the Christmas after my divorce, I said, I'm going to get me a 360 and get Rock Band 3. So that's how long I waited to get one of the new systems. It was all the way till Rock Band 3. And got Rock Band 3 on the 360.
Yeah. And you did fall out of gaming. I remember that. Now that you mention it, you didn't play a whole lot of gaming with us.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah, it was about, you know, because I was with her for about almost 3-ish years, and so that's a big chunk right there that I kind of lost of gaming. And two, when I was at state, as I went in for a few years, you know, after I got into state for a while, I actually fell out of gaming too, because I actually started, you know, I got involved in fraternity, and so that sucked up a lot of my time and didn't play gaming as much then. So it was all in all probably about 4 to 6 years that I was just kind of out of gaming like I used to have been. But, you know, 360 was my jump back in 2008. I remember getting it. Dude, that was so much fun, because the next game that I remember after that was Borderlands 2. Borderlands 1 and 2, actually.
Oh, yeah, that was phenomenal.
Because Hollywood and a couple of our other buddies had Borderlands. They said, hey, go get this game. And, of course, it had already been out for a while when I get it. And so I was really behind on it. I played through it and I beat the whole game, but I didn't play with them much because I was so far behind. Then we all get Borderlands 2 together. Oh my gosh, man. Borderlands 2 was so much fun. And that's where I dove headfirst back into the gaming of, you know, online gaming and that first-person shooter style, kind of like that. I'm not a big Call of Duty fan. I've played it. You know, I never could really get my adjustment on it. That's probably what happens when you lay off gaming for as long as I did. You kind of have that, you lose that feel of gaming. But Borderlands 2, oh my gosh, that was my saving grace, because I remember I had to get the headset, I had to get this, you know, all that stuff. I got all that equipment so I could play it just right and everything. That was a blast game right there. And 360 was a great thing. I never got a PlayStation 3 because it was either, you know, get a Xbox.
Yeah, you didn't need to
get a 360 or get a PlayStation 3. If I got a PlayStation 3, I was only going to be playing 1 or 2 games with a few people, or I get the 360 and play with everybody. And so I got the 360 and played with everybody. It's fantastic. You know, it was a good gaming system. It really was. They did a great job with it, and I got to give Microsoft credit on that. So
yeah, they killed it. They killed it with that, and we'll talk about how they lost it in a minute. But yeah, the 360 and the PlayStation 3, those are 10-year console spans, which was unheard of, and we'll never see again, according to Sony, but and Microsoft for that matter. But they stayed. You know, by the time it was done, I mean, Destiny, just like we talked about, that came out in 360 and PlayStation 4, or, you know, the Xbox One, because
came out for 2 generations because it was still
because
going.
And so did Diablo 3. There's several games like that because they had learned to do so much with this system because it had been out so long. But that was a phenomenal system. And I felt like it kind of got a little bit of magic from maybe like an older generation system like Super Nintendo. What I mean by that, I know it's kind of out there to say, but what I mean by that is Super Nintendo, Sega, you didn't have these great big blockbuster having, Kevin Spacey and all these big Hollywood guys. That wasn't what drew people to the game. Graphics is fun factor. So everybody was kind of used to the graphics halfway through the system life. So I feel like they kind of went back to, we got to make these games a lot more fun now. We got to get them a lot more content, this kind of deal, and really get involved that way. But there's a lot of great games 360 is going to go down, in my opinion. I think it's going to go down as one of the greatest systems ever, just because the library that it has and great games. To this day, this is kind of the fun time to own one because the games are super cheap. I mean, you're like $2 at GameStop or something, and it's great games with it too. They still got Xbox Live going on. That's another 2 free games a month, and the storage is reasonable and not like PlayStation 4 where hey, I got 10 games on here and now I can't download anything else. Yeah, even if you got the terabyte. But so you got anything else to say about? I never owned a PlayStation 3, so I really can't say much. They had a couple exclusives. God of War was an exclusive for them that I remember. That was one that I really wanted to play, which I actually did go back and play the remastered version on PlayStation 4.
Well, you've got
which is a great game. It's a phenomenal game. God of War is a great game.
You have God of War, Uncharted. Those are two of the biggest ones on PlayStation 3 that I think really saved PlayStation 3 because PlayStation 3 released at the highest price for a console at that time. What was it? Was it $5.99 or $4.99? It was.
Oh yeah, that was expensive.
It was really, really out of reach for a lot of people, and so that was a big kind of hit for it, and that's why the PlayStation 3 didn't roll as hard as it did. But the thing that kind of made me go about the systems here was I wanted a PlayStation 3 because you could play online gaming for free. But
that's true.
But the 360, you had to pay $49.99 a year. If you bought it at a year advance, it was $49.99 for a year. And they were the ones that pioneered pay to play. Pay to play for like all gaming online. Here's a flat out a fee right here. Pay this fee and you can play all your games online. And so they really pushed that because now, no matter what you get, a PlayStation or Xbox, you're going to be paying to play online now.
Well, so, yeah, and it looks like, I thought the PlayStation 3, it released a year later, and it actually did just as good as Xbox 360.
It did.
It took a while to catch up, but it finally did. And then Microsoft lost it. Right now we're sitting at about 25 to 30 million. We're guessing at Xbox One. They hadn't released any real numbers, but PlayStation 4 is at double that, 63.3 million. So they're crushing it, obviously. Xbox One was real bad for a long time, and now they finally starting to come back, and I know exactly why, and I'll tell you in a second.
Yeah.
Unless you got something.
No, Xbox One, they had a terrible release, and that's why. And there's other reasons. I'll let you expound on that, and I'll do my whole little rebuttal on it and everything. But PlayStation 4 got it right this time.
Which, by the way, the best-selling system. Yeah, they did it really well. But Microsoft shot themselves in the foot. But PlayStation 2 is the best-selling system so far with 155 million. Mm-hmm. DS is 154 million. And then Game Boy. Nintendo DS is second. Did I say Nintendo DS?
Yeah.
Sound like I said PlayStation. Yes, my mind's running together. Okay, PlayStation 2, Nintendo DS, and then Game Boy. And then PlayStation. So, again, PlayStation 1. So, here's what happened. First of all, they had a expensive... So, I don't understand what they're trying to do. But it's the Sega... I mean, there needs to be a rule. There needs to be some kind of a saying or something in video game world about you did the Sega Genesis to it, which you lose the trust of your consumers. I read 2 interviews with heads of Microsoft in Game Informer before it was released saying we are not going to go digital download only. We will not go digital download only. We will have physical games. Okay, then the next interview said the exact same thing. And quote, he said, if we go digital download, the only thing that we have to do to lose is to have another competitor come out with physical copies, and we've pretty much lost the whole market. Mm-hmm. What do you know? Xbox One comes out. Hey, we're digital only, online only all the time. And PlayStation 4 actually made a commercial with two dudes standing there and said, you want to know how we share data and share games in Sony? And they just handed them the game, a physical copy of the game. I mean, they just exploited it. And so Xbox One comes out with these, the Kinect camera, and it watches you when you come into the room, and you can say Xbox on, and you're playing your Xbox, and you can say, what's the score to the Mississippi State game, and then it'll pull up the score. You just ask it. And it's supposed to be this big supposed to replace everything on your entertainment system. So that's going to cost you $600. What was it when it released? I think it was $600 or something like that.
Yeah, it pulled a PlayStation. Where PlayStation 3 was the expensive system when you compare to the 360. It went high end, went for that. But it's just crazy. I'm gonna let you finish rolling before I start rolling on it, because I got a good bit to say on it too.
Yeah, it's $500 to oppose to PlayStation 4's $400. But that's it. I mean, that killed me, because you take Microsoft and the Xbox One. I just had all the success with 360. They come out and say, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to be physical. We're not going to be digital only. We're not going to be download only." So they just reneged on all that. Now we are digital only. We are online all the time. And then when people started attacking them and questioning them, they got defensive. Oh, well, everything's always online. Why does that matter? So they already starting to attack the customers now. And so, in my mind, they built this entire business model around always online, digital only. And so I'm thinking, if I buy an Xbox and they start to win this console war, what's to stop them from going back to that freaking business model that they had planned out to begin with all digital, right? Mm-hmm. And I hate digital. I want physical copy. And so I went with PlayStation 4. It's a more powerful system, whatnot. But that's why. That's the whole reason I did it. I might have wanted a different change of scenario. I don't like the interface as much on PS4 as I did Xbox, but I'm not going to get a digital-only game, and I'm not going to go with some company that lied to you. Mm-hmm. So I think everybody several people felt the same way, and that's one thing that definitely hurt it, if not killed it.
Yeah. So, I agree with them fully. The thing is that they basically said when they announced it, they were like, hey, look, you're going to have a disc, you put it in, after it installs, you won't ever have to use this disc. It won't ever have to use the disc. Great. I was like, all right, that sounds pretty cool. But then right behind it, they followed up and said the requirement was you have to always connect online once per day, as well as restrictions on used games. They were going to block the fact of you being able to play a used game on their system. Yep. When they said that, they automatically lost. I'm sorry, but that is where they lost. They broke the trust, because PS2, PS3, Xbox 360, all of that, used games. Most of the games I bought during that time frame were used games because I could get them cheaper. About half the time I bought the games after they'd already been out for a while. Go buy a used copy for $5-10. There you go. You're ready to go. You play the game. When they said that you were going to have restrictions on used games, that tanked them right there. And that was Microsoft trying to say, well, I'm Microsoft. I've got the PC under wraps. Yep. I'm going to come in and make sure that I get this under wraps. Well, look at you now. You ain't where you thought you were going to be. You're not the high and mighty that you thought you were. And I'm really glad that they lost this generation war. And even though they're trying to come out with the Xbox One X, I don't think it's going to beat the PS4 Pro, even though it's got more horsepower. I really don't, because PS4 still has not lied to its customer base. What they promised was, I'm going to give you a system that's a gaming console. Here is your gaming console. Microsoft wanted to be a home entertainment system. You want to be an entertainment system? Go compete with all these other things that make home entertainment systems, Harman Kardon, all those other big names like that. Go compete with them. That's what you're trying to compete with. You're not competing with PlayStation at that point when you're trying to do that. They wanted to make sure that you ran everything through the Xbox One So, you hooked your TV up, you hooked your whatever up, and it was going to be its media center hub. And with this always on kind of thing, you had to have the camera connected at all times, all this stuff that they first said, I'm like, you really don't want to be a gaming console anymore, so why would I want to play you if I'm a gamer? Why would I want to buy an Xbox if I'm a gamer and you want to be a media center? I'm not looking for a media center, I'm looking for a gaming console. I even thought the PlayStation 4 looked better. It had this nice sleek look to it, a little bit different, but it looked better in my opinion because it was just something a little different than a square box. I have 20 other square boxes that look just like you up on my counter. Why do I need another one? So it's just, there were so many factors for me that it made it work.
One too many square boxes. It's not gonna.
And the thing is too, like Hollywood just said, when PlayStation turned around right behind it and said, "This is how we share our media," and hands that disc between two people. Dude, that was just like the biggest nail in the coffin for Microsoft. And I really think that Microsoft is following in the footsteps of Nintendo of having that nasty downswing. I mean, I've been hearing rumors now that Microsoft is not even looking at doing another new console. They're just going to do improvements on their Xbox One, which they've proved that. They did the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, and now the Xbox One X. They're proving that they're only doing these incremental changes. Now, PS4 has done the same as well. They did the PS4, the PS4 Pro, but at least hear rumors of a PS5. I hear rumors of PS6. I hear these other rumors of newer consoles coming out for them. Microsoft doesn't have an interest of going any further because they got their tail are between their legs now. They've been beat. And Microsoft doesn't play well once they get beat at something. I mean, you can look at the history, and once they've been beat, they don't play well. Apple's starting to creep up on them in the computer industry, and they're not getting too happy about that. So,
when you start looking at, people are smarter than Microsoft gives them credit for, and that's really, they just, like we said, they dug their own grave, and attacking the consumer base after we're questioning their motives and whatnot. That's obviously not good, but you can tell what they're trying to do. Okay, so I'm going to do digital only. I'm going to boycott used games. So if you develop for my system, you can guarantee you're going to get max dollar for your product, which as a gamer perspective, saying, hey, they're Microsoft and all the developers are teaming up to, limit my options, just like you said, and they can basically run the thing. Digital, just the logistics behind it. Just okay, I'm going to give you $60 so I can access your file. Mm-hmm. That's just, to me, I don't like that. I need a physical copy of my game. And if you want to stop developers, you want to stop people trading in your used game, make something that has good content. Destiny, I mean, I'm not going to get into the good or bad content right now, but I will say, whatever that 10-year plan is, there's no need to turn it into a Destiny game. Even though there's a lot of them, but it ain't worth anything because it's all online. So that's their model. I'm not saying go to that, but I'm saying look at the Final Fantasy 12 remastered. I mean, that's an old game, but phenomenal game, phenomenal content, ton of content. I will buy that one, and plus it was only $40 anyway, 40 or 50, but it's not full price. But anyway, what I'm getting at is when you try to corner the market like that, and people get scared, like, no, we don't play like that. We want to keep hopefully want to keep developers, kind of arms tied. You better make a good game. I mean, look at Witcher 3, mm-hmm. Fallout 4. I mean, these games are massive contents. They're $60, just the same as what's the name? Until Dawn, or what's that? The Order 1886 or something that took every bit of 2 hours to finish. Mm-hmm. But you're charging the same price. Yeah, your game's going to get turned in. But if I was a Microsoft One owner, or excuse me, an Xbox One owner, and they got their way, guess what? I'm hamstrung with a $60 game, digital only, that is I'm done with in 2 hours, and I can't do anything about it. At least when you finished it, you could turn it in and get something back mm-hmm. from GameStop, or sell it online, sell it on eBay, or sell it somewhere to a buddy, Craigslist, whatever. Can't do that. So you killed yourself. But like you said, man, whatever, you messed up. You try to maximize It just seems to always happen like that. You got the lead, you got everything going for you. All you got to do is nothing, Sega and Microsoft, but instead you try to do everything.
They got cocky. That's the big thing. They got cocky. They got their big boy britches on, and they're like, hey, we're going to make this change, and you're going to go with it because we're already winning.
Yeah.
So with
because
us,
we said so.
We said so, and you're going to buy our system because we're going to be great. And then all of a sudden, PS4 was like, well, you ain't got to do that with us. And people were like, oh, I'm going to PS4. I know tons of people that migrated. I'm a migrator. I migrated from 360 to PS4, and I'll never regret that change ever. I will never go back to an Xbox system. I will never do it because it just is not worth it. All of my friends I've made on PS4 are great people. I hear about all these junk that happens on Xbox Live. I hear all these issues they have, and I haven't had a single issue yet. You know, of course I get some hate mail when I do some crazy stuff in my games, but, you know, that's what happens when you do crazy things, because I like to try out something new all the time. But the only thing right now, in my opinion, the only thing right now that's saving the Xbox is the fact that they've quote-unquote done backwards compatibility. It's not real backwards compatibility. They're just releasing the games digitally. You know, and from what I understand, I think you still have to pay for them. It was a way for them to make more money, but people love nostalgia. We're talking about retro gaming. There's nothing I love about Xbox One or 360 or even Xbox for the matter that makes me want to go back to that. Knights of the Old Republic will be the only thing, and I'm not buying a system for just that game. I'm sorry. The game is fantastic, but I'm not buying a system for just that. And two, from what I know, I think you can get it on PC now anyway, and so I just go play it on PC. Heck, I think I can get it on my phone now, if I'm not mistaken, and play it on my phone. You know, I can pay $5 for it and play it on my phone. So why would I want to do that when I play it on my phone? I'm going to take it everywhere. I'm sitting at work, I'm bored, let's play my game. So,
well, PlayStation 4 has the PlayStation Now deal going on where you pay. First, they were trying to charge you. You couldn't buy the game. This is one thing that they mess. There's so many things that you can say about PlayStation Now, but it's old school PS2, PS3, which we didn't get into the Vita. I'm just jumping all over. But anyway, PS2, PS3. And it used to be, you want to play it for 4 hours? Yeah, $2. Well, 4 hours? No, I want to play the. Who plays games for 4 hours? If I, for $2, I want to give you money for that. You want to play it for a day? Okay, it was expensive, like $10, whatever. Stuff's got so expensive. They said, okay, this model's not working. $15 a month, you can play unlimited games, and they're still messing with it. I mean, there's something to be said about not having a lot of money when you just, you think about growing up. We got one game for Christmas or whatever. You finished that game. You rented the game. You had to play it all weekend. That's what you had, and you played it and you finished it. And those are your most enjoyable ones. When you got unlimited access, as soon as a game gets difficult, you get bored at the slightest. You're jumping ship to a new game, and you just jump all the time, and it's not even so you just kind of don't get. You never get immersed in any of them. It's just quantity, not quality. I
got to beta test the PlayStation Now system and playing the games on it, and a lot of the games weren't always some of the older games that were on the beta. They were really crappy games on the beta, but it was really interesting concept of how to play it because you never downloaded anything to your system. You actually were streaming the game. So what hurts on that is if you don't have a great internet connection, you're not going to be able to play it. To qualify to be a beta tester, they actually ran a connection wizard on me before they would qualify me. And they said, okay, yeah, your connection's good enough to beta test. You had to meet minimum spec requirements from what they tested. They said, hey, here's a wizard. You run it. You send the specs send to our system, and if it checks out, then you can beta test. If not, then you're not. And it takes a lot of power for the way they have that set up, and I don't think it's a smart move on them. Now, granted, people are playing on it and paying for it, but it's not the best thing. I hope that when they do a PS5, they actually make it true backwards compatible, but I understand why they can't, because when you're looking at architecture of the systems, when you went from PS3 to PS4, you changed your architecture majorly, because you went to the x86 architecture on the PS4 from the x64 architecture on the PS3. Those are two totally different architectures. It's a big deal, big jump. So I understand why, but you could have made your system read the disc. They were still the same type of discs. I was just a little frustrated with it. So
yeah, it's just cost. They want to keep the cost down.
And that was the main thing. They wanted to keep the cost viable because, heck, look at where PlayStation is now. They are the top dogs again. They are the system that you want to have. I mean, you're looking at almost 70 million units on a system that's, 4 years old now, I think, is it? Or 5 years?
What, the PlayStation?
The PS4?
4? That's it, 14. So 3 years, maybe?
No, it came out in 13, I thought.
And maybe I didn't get it right away because I was, like I said, the 360 was awesome. Let me look at the exact release date. I thought it was 14.
I got it when it came out because I remember I was married, and this
it was November 13. So
November 13. Yeah, I was married, and I walked into Walmart. Literally, this was funny because in November PlayStation 4 was like the PlayStation 2. You just could not find them anywhere. Nobody had them. They were hard to get. They were getting scalped on eBay like the PlayStation 2 was. It was basically the whole PlayStation 2 thing all over again. I walk in to Walmart on Christmas Eve. It's Christmas Eve morning because I had to go to my parents' house because I always go Christmas Eve at my grandparents'. So I go to my parents' house that day, and then we go down there that night. And I walk in, and I'm like, I've been messing with my wife. I was like, look, if I ever see a PS4, I'm going to up and buy it. And she's like, okay. I walk into Walmart. This is on Christmas Eve. They got 6 of them in the box, in the cabinet. I called my wife. I was like, I was just making a joke with her because I actually had to stop by and get my hunting license because I was planning to do some hunting that holiday. And I pick up my hunting license and then walk back there. I'm talking to her on the phone while I walk back there. I was like, I'm just gonna walk back here. She's like, okay. I walk back there and they've got them. And I look at it. I tell her on the phone. I was like, they actually have them here, but I'm gonna walk away. And she's like, why? I'm like, what? My wife's not a gamer at all. She's never really gamed, never got into it. She's like, why are you walking away from it? You're fixing to get Christmas money, right? I mean, I get guaranteed Christmas money every year from my parents because that's all they ever do. They don't know how to get me gifts. They just give me money. And so she's like, well, you should be getting enough money throughout all your Christmas gifts to get it. Go ahead and pick it up. So I picked it up and came home with it. I was so happy, man. That was my happy.
What game did you get? Did you get a game?
I don't even think I bought a game with it. I think I just got the system and ran home with it. Was just so excited to get the system, And so I get there and I was just so happy to have the system. One of the first games, I got, God, what was it? It's a PC game first, and they ported it over, and it's a little, it was one of the indie games because PS4 decided, hey, we're going to give you free games every month. And
that was no, I know what it's called because you told me to get it.
It was such a fun
Survive. Is it a survival game?
It's a survival game. It's like is it Alone in the Dark or something? Don't starve. Yeah. Such a fun little game. That's been my favorite little indie game so far. That and Fez. Fez is a funny little game. Those are fun little indie games that they have, and they ushered in the indie games, and that's definitely outside of retro, and this is talking about retro, so we've actually kind of gotten all the way up here to now. So
that generation.
So,
did you see there's a movie out? I thought it was on Netflix for a while. You reminded me when you said Fez. It's about the indie developers that developed. There's one guy that developed Fez, and Meat Boy and all this kind of stuff. And the Fez guy, got mad. Phil Fish is his name, and he got mad or something. Everybody was kind of, when's the game coming out? And it's just attacking him and stuff. And he's like, I just can't deal with it anymore. I've never had that kind of pressure or anything, so I don't know what would go through your mind. But it's kind of like, dude, what do you expect, man? You kind of gotta roll with that stuff. I mean, I guess if you try to make yourself public with everything you do. But anyway, that's what I always think about Fez. But I can't remember what the name of that movie is. It's a great movie though. It's just a video game movie. And I thought there was a couple others. Meat Boy. And Fez, and I don't know what the other one was, but anyway, is a good movie. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but I'm trying to find it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we didn't really talk about handhelds, so we'll have to save that for another day. I'm never a real big handheld fan.
Well, I actually rolled through quite a few of them. You want to just do a handheld retro one? I mean, it'll probably be a shorter one. It might be one that we could do like in conjunction with another one. Or we could just put out, if we wanted to put a little 20, 30-minute one out, we could probably do it on the handhelds.
I'll tell you what, just if anybody wants to hear a handheld one, just let us know. If we don't get any feedback from it, I'm cool with not doing it. However, I do want to do. We can't do a whole movie, but I just really want to get a shout out. I guess I'll give it out to this one, to the PlayStation Vita, because that is a phenomenal system, and it's just poor marketing or whatever the case, or just going up against the 3DS just keeps it from blasting off. And Sony's abandoned it at this point. I mean, you're getting a bunch of Japanimation, Japan games, Japanese RPGs, stuff like that. If you like Japanese RPGs, that's definitely the console for you. And I used to like Japanese RPGs. They started getting all weird, but they got a ton of Freedom Wars, phenomenal game. Of course, the God of Wars. I actually got Mortal Kombat with it, which is a phenomenal game. Final Fantasy World is out now. That kind of relatively new release, but it's starting to be collectible. In fact, you can't find physical copies at any store now that I know of. GameStop has them now. You have to ask for them. They used to have them out. They recently moved them to the back, but I went on a big spree there for a while. They actually got a lot of limited games they release: Lone Survivor, Octodad, stuff like that. Anyway, I just wanted to mention it. We don't got to get too deep into it, but the PlayStation Store on there is another phenomenal thing where you can buy Final Fantasy VIII. I bought that Final Fantasy IX. So, $5, and you got Final Fantasy VIII on the go. And the screen is phenomenal.
The PlayStation Store was actually pioneered on the PSP, because I had a PSP, and it was...
Yeah, I had a PSP, too.
It was pretty awesome on there. So, but yeah, guys, y'all listening, if y'all want to hear a podcast about handhelds, let us know. We actually can put one together. I've got I went through the whole gamut of them. I did a Game Boy. I did the Game Gear. I did some other ones here and there. So I did some ones that were definitely aftermarket. So just let us know if you want to hear a little bit about it. It might not be as long of a podcast, but we can definitely put one together for that.
Yeah, cool. So this pretty much wraps up all the retro just systems. Real broad overview. I get it. We didn't dive a whole lot into all of the super facts or unknowns and stuff like that. I mean, if we're going to do that, we're going to specialize in with the Super Nintendo version, Super Nintendo podcast or the whatever. But just wanted to give you guys a big, broad overview and just kind of share some of the experiences that I remember as a kid, and Clearfire remembers we grew up together playing this. And but next time, I guess we're just going to jump on the Destiny 2. Back to that one. It's kind of funny. Our very first podcast has a lot of listens, which is to be expected. It's your first one. They want to see what it is. The second one was Destiny 2. The third one is the Retro. Retro's got way more than Destiny 2. It didn't. So, obviously, if you see the first one, of course, and the Retro is a popular thing, especially with our group, because it's just kind of how we grew up. So I love doing this one. This is a great one. I had a lot of fun recording this one and the first one, Retro one as well, just because anytime we want to talk about video games, I'm down.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So, but anyway, we've been playing Destiny 2 for when did it come out? In the 6th, so about over a week, over 10 days now. It's the 17th, so we've got plenty of experience with it, and by the time we record one, it's probably going to be another week into it. And so that'll get you time to get ready, do a couple of nightfalls, and just kind of get back into it.
I haven't quite gotten to nightfall point. I'm like 239, and it takes 240 to be nightfall. That's what I hit today. So
yeah, so that's probably we'll stick to the plan. We'll do a Destiny 2 next. And again, if you guys got any ideas, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on the Facebook, or if you know us, just text us, whatever the case, and just let us know what you want to hear. And just not just a general thing either. If you want us to dig up some information about what happened to the how did the Game Genie get to be involved in something like that, anything that we'll research and chop it up there.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so this one went a little bit long, twice as long as any of the other ones. But I tell you what, I had a great time doing it. And I hope you guys stuck around and listened to it.
Yeah, please listen to it, guys. Give us some more listens. Let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. Like Hollywood said, hit us up. We've got the Twitter. We've got the Facebook. Jump on there. Like the page, and then shoot us a message on there. And we'll definitely respond, and we'll get on there. I'll try to put together an email so y'all can shoot us emails, and that'll make it a little bit easier as well to respond. So yeah, just let us know what you think. If you want to hear something, like he said, if you want us to chop down Game Genie, you want us to top down Game Shark even, we can go all the way back to those. If we skipped over Virtual Boy, we skipped over a few other things. If you want us to talk about some of those, we definitely can. We've got experience with a lot of that stuff. So just let us know what you think and what you want to hear.
All right, cool, guys. We'll drop this probably every week. So Destiny 2 will come out. Trying to drop them every Thursday. So just stay tuned every Thursday. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and talk to you later.
Take care.